You see, Raucous? Let me tell you something. Raucous gonna make me raucous one of these mornings, you know. All you know what that mean? Anyways, welcome back to the No Morning Show here on TTT. And if you're just joining us, thank you very much for joining us. Raucous, Carrie, Natalie. And we're going to be speaking with the Barkeepers and Operators Association of Trinidad and Tobago, who has a plan. Well, let's hear from them what it is. Good morning to you. The president is with us, Mr. Satish Munasar. Good morning to you, Mr. Munasar. Mr. Munasar, are you hearing me now?
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning to you.
Yes, and I do have Carrie and Raucous with me here as well.
Morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
Right, Raucous, Carrie. Yeah. All right, so Mr. Munasar, what is this proposal that the Barkeepers and Operators Association what has for the government?
So what we proposed was a restriction or a ban on the consumption of alcohol on all public spaces. As you have known, that bars have been under that same restriction for quite a while now, since March 2020. In certain times, we have been totally closed down, but since of August, we have been restricted to no consumption on compound or on premise. And what we are saying that we need to have a more proactive approach to the situation and not a reactive approach. And what we are seeing presently right now that the bars are being restricted, but the general public is allowed to still congregate on the public roadways, car parks, all savannas, supermarkets, and all over the country, and do the same thing that is restricted in the bars. So what we are saying that
is the philosophy that if they can't drink by you, they shouldn't drink anywhere else?
No, that's not the philosophy. What we are saying is that the present restrictions, as we have seen, is clearly not working, because we have been restricted and the cases continue to go up. So if the health professionals believe that alcohol consumption while congregating is a risk, it needs to be a consistent risk.
So,
the risk cannot be convenient. It needs to be a consistent risk. So if it's a risk in one location, we need to all accept our social responsibility, not only the bar owners. The general public also needs to accept their social responsibility.
Right. I definitely agree with you, but I do also remember the last time I spoke with you is that the general consensus from the Barkeepers and Operators Association is that COVID-19 cases, there's no signs to show that it is being spread from bars. So are you suggesting that this really is a problem where consumption of alcohol is spreading COVID-19?
What we are saying that is in uncontrolled environment, that once persons do not adhere to the guidelines and what is recommended for the medical health professionals, it is a risk for the spread of COVID-19. Now, our legal establishments are establishments where is a controlled environment, and the authorities have all the has full authority to come in and make sure that we do the correct thing. And we understand that we need to accept our social responsibility, but the responsibility needs to be across the board. Because right now, the bars and the locations are accepting their social responsibility, but the same thing that we are restricted for is across the board. So what we are saying is that the general public needs to accept the same social responsibility, because if we continue to go like this and not do something different, we would just keep going up and down in pieces, and bars will continue to be restricted as we have been since last year, since March 2020. So we need to accept our social responsibility, and likewise the public needs to accept their social responsibility as well.
Can I interject here, Mr. Munasar? The government has put in place a ban on people gathering generally, right? So we're limited to not gathering more than 10 people. But what you're saying is that you want the government to implement a 60-day ban on alcohol consumption. So you're suggesting that even though there's already a restriction on how many people can gather, the alcohol consumption in public places is really the problem in the spread of COVID-19, yes?
Well, I am not saying that. I am saying that the health professionals are saying that, because they have restricted it in our establishment. The health professionals have said that, not me. So if that is deemed a risk in our establishment, I see no reason why it should not be deemed a risk across the board. That is the views and the recommendations of the medical health professionals. So what we are asking, because what we have seen is the same thing that we have been restricted at it's being done across the board. So if it's deemed a risk by the medical health professionals, it should be deemed a risk across the board. It needs to have a consistent message across the board, and we all need to do what is necessary to have the COVID-19 cases under control to a point where we could come back to some sense of normalcy and open back our businesses and to start the economy.
I'm honestly not sure if I'm following, because what I'm thinking about is that, as Rokas pointed out, there are restrictions to the amount of people gathered. There are restrictions to drinking, to sitting and drinking in any one place. So is it that you want the government to say, okay, even though there are penalties for those who, one, gather in more than numbers of 10, drink, gather anywhere and drink, that you want to, who is it that you're trying to punish? I'm trying to figure it out, because it seems like, penalizing something because of what you are suffering from, which is not being able to drink on the compound.
But that is not penalizing anyone. What we are continuing to say, that the medical health professionals of the country deem the data risk at our location. And we
but it's not just bars, though, Mr. Munisar. The medical health professionals have insisted that anywhere people can eat and drink, that's going to make sure that they do something like this and remove their mask to consume, that they've put a stop to it for now, because the numbers are
cinemas, theaters.
Right. So it's not just something that's unique to bars. So then why are you proposing a ban on alcohol? What's the thought process behind the ban on the alcohol? That's what I'm trying to find out from you.
Right. It's the same reasoning that you just said there. It's the same reasoning that the medical health professionals said, that it's deemed a risk at our establishment, which is a legal business establishment. And the same thing that we are restricted upon is happening in the general public.
So then are we going to restrict people from eating then?
Let me explain it a little more.
Are we going to restrict people from eating? Because the reality is, I know that the medical professionals can do so much and no more. But it seems as if you want them to penalize everybody, because bars can't drink here, but people going down the street to drink. So just penalize everybody. But the thing is that there are systems in place, and yes, you'll always find people who will try to flout the regulations. And I think that's what's happening. So is it the right fix to flouting of the regulations to say nobody should drink? Because probably we're going to have to say nobody should eat or nobody should move.
No, we are not saying that nobody should eat or nobody should move or nobody should drink. But again, now in the Commissioner of Police press conference last week, he said that he's going to hold bar owners accountable for persons that are gathered on the precincts or nearby properties of our establishment. And what we are also saying by this is that we cannot be held responsible for the general public in public spaces. We can be held responsible, and we agree that all bar owners should be socially responsible for their establishments and compounds. But outside of our establishment and compounds, we cannot control the public, the general public in those spaces. And the Commissioner of Police, in his statement, said that he's going to hold the bar owners accountable. So what we are saying, the bar owners cannot be held responsible for that situation of the general public. The general public needs to be held responsible for that, and not us.
I agree with that 100%. I think, you can in control of your property and so much, right? So if people are in general public, then the police can deal with the general public accordingly. However, Mr. Munasa, you guys, the bar owners, the bar keepers and operators association, you guys have been saying that, over the past year, when things have been closed down or limited and restricted, that you've been losing sales and you've been losing return customers as well. How do you think a 60-day ban on alcohol is going to affect your bottom line?
I just want to clear up something to the general public as well. The 60-day ban that we are asking for is not a ban on the sale of alcohol, but some persons in the general public seems to believe that we are asking for a ban of the sales of alcohol. We are not asking for that. We are asking for the same restriction to apply across the board. So we are asking that the consumption of alcohol to be in all public spaces be restricted and banned for a 60-day period.
Right, but if you do it that way, right? I'm saying me, as a person who drinks alcohol, if I go home and I want to stop by a bar and get something to go home, I would now have to rethink that, because I can't drink it. Even if I sit in my car if I'm not driving and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, I can't sit in a public space like that and drink, right? So I will now have to rethink and maybe go and buy every month in the grocery or whatever the case is, if that's the case. How does it affect the bottom line for the barkeepers and operators?
But what we are saying that it's the same process that we have been going through since August of 2020, which we have been restricted to our buy and go policy. So what we are saying that we need to adhere to the guidelines. Persons can still stop at the bars will still be open, supermarkets will still be open, alcohol will still be for sale. But just it will be that you would do what the medical health professionals ask or use moral suasion for the public to do, which is buy and go to your go home and go to your private spaces and where you can consume. Because gathering in public spaces is what the medical health professionals deem to be a risk for the spread of COVID-19. So the establishments will still be open, we will still be able to sell, but it will be a proper adherence to the guideline, where you would now buy and go to your private properties or in the comfort of your inner circles and your persons of that residence, and do exactly what the medical health professionals have been asking of us.
Mr. Musa, let me play devil's advocate here. When it comes to the alcohol at the bar, right? Generally, what happens is that the bar prices are usually higher than that of the grocery stores or the liquor marts and such. Why should I, as a consumer, go to a bar to buy alcohol in that case if I am unable to consume alcohol in a public space? Why would I go pay a higher price for it at a bar as compared to going to a liquor mart or a grocery store? Wouldn't that, as we were saying, affect the bar owners adversely as well?
Well, again, we have been under that restriction since August of 2020, and what you are alluding to is basically what the health regulation says that cannot happen. What the health regulation says is that you cannot consume alcohol in a bar or a precinct. So persons who are in the precincts of the bars now, what you are alluding to, is already breaking the law and is already against the health ordinance.
I agree
so
with
we
that.
are not asking anything different.
I agree with that. But when it comes to the livelihoods of the bar owners themselves, if this 60-day ban is implemented, we may actually see some bars close because, again, people will not go and spend more money for a product when they could get it cheaper elsewhere because they don't even have the luxury of consuming it even in their vehicle or as the case may be. I'm not condoning drinking and driving, don't get me wrong.
No,
but you can't even sit in your own vehicle by yourself and consume alcohol if the 60-day ban is imposed. So this 60-day ban could potentially lead to a lot of business owners having to close their doors. Would you not agree? Or is it that
you all don't mind that? You all don't mind losing as a result of this measure that you're
it's for the greater, it sounds like it's for the greater good, to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Yes, as I said as well too, we have been asked to accept our social responsibility as bar owners, restaurant owners, and we believe that the general public needs to accept their social responsibility as well. Because if we continue in the manner in which we go in, cases will continue to go up and down, and the bar owners will continue to be restricted in the same way.
Yeah. Mr. Munisa, just curious, what evidence do you all have of this, massive amount of people drinking on the roadways? It's just a question because if there's a proposal, Raucus, for people for a ban to be implemented, it has to make sense. It has to be because there's evidence to suggest that this is happening.
Mr. Munisa, tell me something. Is it that this is your response to what the commissioner said? Is that what this is? This is just a safeguard measure to make sure that the commissioner does not come and attack the barkeepers and the operators directly. Is that what this is?
It's not only that. That is part of it. But what we are saying that we need to have a different approach, because if the current restrictions and the current approach is only keeping the legal establishments, the bars under the restriction, because nothing is changing. Cases go down. Cases have gone down as low as 3 per day, and the bars were still restricted. Now it's up to hundreds per day, and will be restricted, and it's over a year now. So we need to do something different. And if the medical health professionals deem something to be a risk, we see that everybody should accept their same social responsibility.
I agree. We all need to accept our responsibility. But I am asking again.
Anything happens and we continue in the same way, that shows no change for us.
I am asking again, Mr. Munisa, what evidence is there? what evidence is there that there's this massive drinking on the roads? Because that we have an uptick in case. I remember before that the Barkeepers and Operators Association was so clear that the uptick in cases had nothing to do with bars, and there was no evidence to suggest this. So what evidence do you have to suggest that it's people drinking on the roadways and in car parks? Because I have not seen it personally. Have you seen it, honestly? Have you seen it?
I've seen people drinking on the pavement outside of bars.
Yes. I've seen people drinking in front of bars, at the bars, but not the picture that Mr. Munisar is painting where people are in car parks or stuff. So what evidence do we have of this? Because I want to ensure that if I'm going to support this measure and say yes, it has to be that I have to be on the right track in terms of I have to know what I'm supporting, and it has to make sense.
Natalie, there has been videos that have been circulating throughout the entire year in all car parks and places of congregation. We even saw places underneath the flyover in front of Grand Bazaar, where persons gather in large groups, come with their cars, play music, and have a party-like environment.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there is already a restriction in place for that, Mr. Munisar. There is already a restriction in place for that. It's known as not gathering. So isn't it enforcement of the regulations that we already have that we need?
Now, in a general public space, what they are saying and what they are seeing.
Yeah, but there are restrictions to gathering in general public places. There are even restrictions to gathering even in the private property, as much as the regulations cannot control that. Yeah. They still discourage that. So shouldn't there be enforcement? Because the reality is what I am seeing, I have not seen what you spoke about. I have honestly seen bars open with people sitting at the bars and drinking. That's what I am seeing.
No, Natalie, just please give me a chance to respond to your question.
Honestly, it's because you don't ever stop, so I have to speak over you.
If you haven't seen the videos or haven't seen the evidence to show that there's mass gatherings across the country, you can go to the Barkeepers and Operators Facebook page, and the videos are there. And what we are seeing now is, and the police have also alluded to this, that the enforcement of the guidelines in the general spaces is very difficult, because of the guidelines is outlined that you are not allowed to gather at present that in groups of more than 5 or in open spaces of more than 5. So persons who space out themselves in groups of more than 5, like for instance in a car park, if 5 persons are at their vehicle or on the outside of the vehicle, at the trunk of the vehicle, it is difficult for the TPS officers to enforce the guidelines there, because there's left a room of argument that they are adhering to the guidelines.
So how did you come up with the proposition that drinking alcohol in that kind of environment is causing spread?
We did not come up with that premise, nothing. The medical health professionals on a constant basis over the entire year to justify the restrictions on us said that alcohol consumption while gathering is a risk to the general public, and their argument is that when you drink alcohol, your way of adhering to the guidelines is skewed.
And I agree with that. But if you're talking about,
I am not saying that.
I agree with that, Mr. Munisar. But if you compare people being in their vehicles, if you compare people being in their vehicles and drinking as compared to people being in a bar, let's say right here, and sitting and drinking, I don't know that there is really a legitimate comparison, because the contact is different. The proximity is different. If 50 people park up in a car park and drink and they're not gathering together, I don't know that we stand the same risk as when we're in a bar and all of us are gathered around a table.
What I am telling you, that this is happening. People need to be realistic, and these things are happening. If you haven't seen the videos, I will forward the videos to you. And what I'm telling you, realistically, people need to understand that the adherence to the guidelines in an uncontrolled environment in public spaces is presently happening. People are not adhering to the guidelines.
All right. And Mr. Munisar,
if that is being a risk at us, it must be. It is something that the entire public needs to hold their social responsibility for, and not only the bar owners. We need to do as a society what is necessary to keep the spread of COVID-19 at bay, and not only particular persons should hold the responsibility. It should be everyone hold that same responsibility Because if we continue to go in this manner, our bar industry will continue to be on a restriction.
Mr. Munisar, we are out of time.
On a street. And there will be no end to the restrictions that we are in. So we need to do something different, and we need to have a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munisar. Satish Munisar, they're president of the Barkeepers and Operators Association of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not sold on the ideas yet. Are you?
I understand the principle of it. I understand that alcohol is social lubrication and a pastime
I just keep
of Trinidadians.
Feeling as if it's a punitive measure because we can't gather here.
I think it's more than that. I think it's a response to the commissioner saying that we will penalize bar owners if people are drinking in front of your bar.
Right.
I think it's a matter of safeguarding themselves and saying, all right, if they can't gather and drink here, well, they shouldn't be able to gather and drink nowhere, because when you're across the road from my bar, I can still get charged.
It's still punitive. It's still punitive, and that's what I don't necessarily agree with. No, it's not that I'm against people saying, listen, ban the alcohol, It's not that I'm against that either, because if you recognize, but the reality is, can we even prove that the uptick that we're having is as a result of people drinking? They've always maintained.
If you're saying that,
I'm saying the Barkeepers and Operators Association have always maintained that this is not why we're having an uptick.
Right, but what I'm saying
so why are they claiming it now because the commissioner said that?
No, I think they're claiming it now because you had professionals keep saying it, and they're saying, well, if you're going to close us, close everything.
Yeah, but the health professionals have always said it, and they've always denied it. So why own it now? And I think that's the difficulty I'm having.
Well, as you just said, and Ruckus just said, they're changing their approach.
Try something new.
No, the thing is, alcohol is not the problem. Gathering is the problem.
Yeah.
And the thing is, us Trinbagonians, we gather to drink.
Yeah, we're social people.
We're social people, and as I said, alcohol is social lubrication. So what is happening is that people are using the alcohol as a reason to gather. And as a result, wherever you are, whether you're in the bar, in front of the bar, on the pavement, in the car, as the case may be.
I'm seeing people drinking in bars, normal.
You know what? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we have more for you guys.
This one is unresolved, people. This one is unresolved.
We'll agree to disagree.
Now we take one for the road. Boom, bam. Now we take a shot for the road. Boom, bam. Now we take one for the road. Party look nice, yeah, party look good.